everyone. Welcome to Systech's live webinar today, and thank you for taking time to join us. My name is Vaishnavi Golapudi, Director of Marketing at Systech, and I'll be your moderator for today. Today, we'll focus on how DBShift, our modernization accelerator, can help you achieve rapid, guaranteed migration to Databricks, reducing time and cost while simplifying the entire process. I'm excited to introduce our speakers. We have a very good lineup of speakers here. First, we have Yusuf Ghulam Hussain, Chief Technology Officer at Systech. Yusuf has played a pivotal role in driving Systech's growth as a key data analytics player, and he's been instrumental in bringing new products to the market. Under his leadership, Systech has modernized its engineering processes by infusing AI into data lifecycle. So welcome, Yusuf. Happy to have you here.
Happy to be here.
We are also joined by Matt Lattimore, Senior Field Engineering Manager at Databricks, and he comes with an extensive experience in IT. And Matt has held leadership positions at Splunk, Riverbed, and has spent the last 2.5 years helping central enterprise accounts at Databricks achieve their data modernization goals. Welcome, Matt, and excited to have you here with us.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Fantastic. So before we get started, just a couple of quick housekeeping items. We'll have a Q&A session at the end, so feel free to type in your questions into the Q&A box at any time during the presentations. You don't have to wait till the end. Right? And we're also running a poll in the chat, and we'd love for you to participate when they appear. So without further delay, let's get started. Yusuf, over to you.
Well, thank you, Vaishnavi. Hello, everyone. And again, thanks for joining us. So the topic of our discussion today is modernization of enterprise data platform, right? So let's begin, with a fundamental question. Why modernize your data platform, right? Now, the overall data landscape as we see it has changed dramatically in the last few years, right? The data volumes, the velocity, the speed at which data is generated and consumed, the variety of data, the kinds of, we're dealing with structured content, semi-structured content, audio, video files. So all of that whole landscape has grown significantly, especially with digitization of assets and the use of smart technology. We have seen it in everyday life. We have mobile devices, we have smart devices, security devices, all generating a ton of data that could really be leveraged to, mine insights and make some informed business decisions. But from a current state perspective, the legacy data platforms are failing to meet the needs of a modern enterprise from a capability standpoint, from a scalability standpoint, from a performance standpoint, and more importantly, even from a security standpoint, they are just not meeting the needs of today's enterprise. And in effect, what it's doing is it's truly slowing down the data-driven business transformation that enterprises are seeking today, which is very essential and key to staying ahead and staying competitive. So on other hand, from a future state perspective, what can modernization do for enterprises? So modernization truly opens up a whole lot of possibilities for enterprises. Number one on the list would be, increased scalability, the ability to truly scale with growing data and business needs. So as your data and your business requirements grow, your platform can also scale accordingly. There is an opportunity to truly streamline your business processes, right? Over the years with the legacy platform, a lot of these processes are built with bad habits, as you call it, right? So there's a chance to put in best practices, implement some level of efficiency in your operational workflows. Cost reduction is another benefit of modernization by the way of rationalization of assets. And what I mean by that is, there are a whole bunch of product processes that are truly outdated over the time, right? So this gives you an opportunity to truly rationalize those assets, and that could truly lead to, tangible cost benefits. And the most important aspect of all, accelerate business innovation with new and advanced technology capabilities that a modern data platform can bring to bear. Now, all this is well and good, but the journey to modernization has its challenges and roadblocks. Uh, Migration projects are complex, especially with large legacy code base built over time. There is a risk of translation loss, so we effectively capture all the logic into your new environment. There's a concern around data security when you do migration. So it requires careful planning and execution. Migrating a large code base from legacy to a modern platform is a mammoth task from a scope and a scale standpoint, and requires a lot of effort and resources, and hence incurring cost. And that kind of is also a deterrent for a lot of enterprises to embark on this journey. And finally, it takes time, right? Sometimes it takes several months or even years in case the migration is done through a traditional approach. And we'll talk about the way to do it in a better way. Now, this leads to two pertinent questions. Yes, there are challenges with modernization, but not modernizing is not an option, right? So question number one is, how do we mitigate these challenges? And question number two, what would be an ideal data platform to consider, right? So before we address the first question about mitigating challenges, let's hear from Matt about Databricks and how Databricks is best suited for the needs of a modern enterprise. Take it away, Matt.
Got it. Thank you. Let me go to the next slide. So let's talk about that new approach. And as it relates to the modern data platform, because one of the items that Yusuf just said that it's super important, and we're going to talk about this throughout the presentation, is that turbocharging of innovation. Is we believe that the companies that will continue to make progress are those that continue to leverage both data and AI moving forward. And you cannot do that with legacy systems. Let me go to the next slide. So Databricks, okay, has been around for 11 years. Seems like quite a long time. We are the innovators of Apache Spark, the most successful open source project that exists today, MLflow, Delta Lake. We have over 10,000 customers. We are leaders in the data and AI space. We started with it. AI was built at the heart of our platform from day one. So we continue to leverage that as we progress. So as I just mentioned, the winners in the industry, I'm going to go back one, are those that can leverage data and AI. Super important. However, there are challenges related to it because most organizations look similar to what you're seeing on the slide here. There are pockets of software or technology stacks throughout your entire organization. You have data warehouses, you have ETL, you have governance, you have BI for visualization, you have generative AI for your advanced use cases, you have streaming for your real-time use cases. But in a lot of organizations that we come across, these are a variety of software packages that attempt to stitch together and have a cohesive solution. And it becomes very challenging, if not impossible, in a lot of cases. So we at Databricks believe there is a better solution, and that better solution is the Lakehouse. Hopefully that comes up okay. It's the Delta Lake. We invented this scenario. We created the Lakehouse many years ago. We continue to build upon it as we move forward. Becomes super important. There's three key things on this slide I just want you to get. Number one, if you look at the bottom, the open data lake, that is your data. That's your structured, unstructured, semi-structured data. It stays within your cloud. It does not get ingested into Databricks, which is a huge, hopefully a security relief for you, okay? We layer on top of that Delta Lake on top of it to give a uniform cloud storage, if you will. The second item on this slide that is important is Unicatalog. Unicatalog is our data governance solution. Now, if all your data sits in a single platform and you have a single governance, there's huge advantages associated to that. Unicatalog determines who can access data, okay? It can also determine and provide you reporting in terms of who has been accessing it. So it provides a security function, but also a reporting capability. And there's one other really interesting solution feature built within Unity Catalog is what's called data lineage. And think about this, data comes into your data platform. It'll go through some form of transformation. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to look at how that data has been transformed over time? So if you are a data scientist, perhaps there's a certain version of that data you want to get access to it, and maybe it's the raw data or the silver level, if you're doing the medallion architecture. So super important. Then the other items, number 3 on the list, is across the top, are the key use cases that Databricks Lakehouse provides. And that is data and AI, data science and ML built within the solution. Delta Live Tables, which is your ETL and orchestration. There's workflows in there as well. And what we're going to spend most of the time today is talking about our data warehousing solution. It has been, we've been in the data warehousing now for approximately 3 years. And as you can see, looking at both the Gartner and the Forrester Wave, and the Gartner, we're in the upper right-hand quadrant and have been since its inception. And we're in the right-hand corner and on the first Forrester Wave report as well. We're leaders in the market. Okay, this question is, why do we lead? And that is, we invented DBSQL, which is our data warehouse, approximately 4 years ago. But we've continued to enhance it over time. It wasn't a make it once and be done with it. And our enhancements are, we have layered in within our data warehousing, data and AI. If you have AI models that can learn about the underlying data, why not leverage that within the warehouse to provide end users the next level inspection or knowledge about what's within that data warehouse? It becomes super important. Number 2 is we optimize the back end. You don't have to worry about compute sizes. Okay, we're going to naturally run the particular cluster sizes, what's necessary to run your given workloads. And also number 3 is the price and performance. We are competitive against anyone else out there in the market. And you'll find in a lot of cases, if it is a migration from some of our competitors, we have the ability to profile along with Systech to say, your workloads are X here, here's what your workloads would look running in Databricks. So there's 3 items I want to talk about, and then I'll turn it back to Systech. Some of the data and AI components that we have incorporated within our DBSQL today, you can see them listed on the screen, is SQL Editor, what we call Lakehouse Dashboards, or what's called AIBI, and then Project Genie. So let's go to just a little, we're going to dive just a little bit deeper into it. And that is, there will be users, and get that to go to the next slide. There will be users that will use your data warehouse that may not be super proficient at SQL. So why not have an ability built within the solution for users to enter SQL commands and then utilize the AI components within the Databricks SQL to determine and say, make recommendations in terms of that code. We can make code corrections in it, and we can ensure that whatever code is being written aligns to what the best practices are, which is super interesting. Number 2, we have a visualization tool within it. We call it AIBI, or what's previously called Lakeview. That is your ability to interact with the data using natural language. So yes, you have a blank palette, but you can show me a chart that charts the top 10 selling products over the last 30 days. That natural language then yields underlying SQL, and that SQL becomes part of your dashboard. So this allows the users to innovate and use that data quicker. And then the last one is what's called Project Genie. Genie is that Google interface, if you will. Blank screen, you issue a natural language query. I use Genie every single day. And here's just, I'll give you 2 minutes of how I use it. I am not super proficient at SQL, but Genie is, so I'll do the natural language, ask the question. It will then show me the results. I can then interrogate the results and say, did you give me what I was looking for? Number 1. And if it does, I just use the underlying SQL that gets generated, or I can go back and say, change the query, modify it in this way. But the best part is that the query code that gets generated, I can then put that back into my dashboard, and I become self-sufficient in terms of my ability to interrogate my data warehousing data. So super important. As Yusuf said, you need a modern data platform. Without it, there are things that you will not be able to do. And the biggest challenge for individuals, for organizations, is if they want the modern data platform, but they have the legacy data warehouse, how do they go from that legacy warehouse into the modern data platform? And it's a challenge for a lot because it's a complex. And this is exactly what Systech does, being a premier Databricks partner. And they're going to dive in and show you what's called DBShift, and that is that migration tool that they have. So Yusuf, back to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Matt. That was really, you hit all the key points in terms of, the role of AI once you have all your data in one place. So it does drive the point of, innovation is enabled once you modernize. So let's get back to, moving on from where we left off. We kind of addressed the second question that I raised, what should be a platform of choice? And you saw Databricks and its capabilities. So I want to go back to the first question that I raised. We talked about challenges of modernization and migration. So how do we mitigate these challenges? As Matt also said, it's not if you want to do it, it's about, when and how quickly can you modernize to a better platform, right? So let me introduce DBShift, which is our modernization accelerator powered by GenAI under the covers. So at the core of DBShift is a fine-tuned generative AI model built on the open source Llama 3.1 foundational model for all the tech folks out there. So with DBShift, we can move workloads from any legacy platform onto Databricks with speed and accuracy, at the same time mitigating complexity and risk. And we will dive deeper into those aspects because those are the challenges we raised, right? And when we talk about legacy platform, what I want to highlight is that it's not just the data that you want to move. Typically, a data platform involves all kinds of data ingestion workloads as well as data consumption workloads. So all those workloads on either side of your data platform needs to be modernized in a way that you got to make it work with Databricks. So as part of our offering with DBShift, we could migrate and convert all kinds of objects, ETL scripts, ETL flows, queries, models, and so on and so forth. And with DBShift, we truly guarantee 100% conversion accuracy and reliability of the converted code. And that kind of brings about, an effort and time savings of up to 70%. And we will revisit these numbers once again in terms of how we arrived at these metrics. But before that, let's dive into some of the key features of DBShift. So as I said, at the heart of DBShift is a generative AI model. And our model is kind of created with a precise combination of pre-training and prompt engineering. And these are technical terms I'm using, but you would hear a lot of these automation tools out there. And I want to truly differentiate how we do things with DBShift, right? And the reason why we achieve 100% model accuracy is because our conversion is done through model intelligence as opposed to a rule-based engine. The big difference between the two. Because the rule-based engine is, at the end of the day, is again defined manually, right? So there's the aspect of human error can creep in. So in summarization, ours is a reasoning engine and not a deterministic one. And that's a big differentiator between DBShift and other tools out there that claim to be these conversion accelerators. Second, automation is not just limited to converting the code. The syntactical and structural integrity of the code is also validated through AI models within the DBShift ecosystem. So it's not just conversion, but validation of the code to make sure that that code is ready to be, is ready with all the best practices of DBShift, validated from a syntactical and a structural integrity standpoint. From a compatibility standpoint, we support a host of code source formats. As you know, all these products under the covers are either support SQL or XML or YAML or PySpark. So as part of DBShift, we are able to convert any of these code source format. And if there is a source format that we have not seen yet, as an example, training a new skill for DBShift happens just in a matter of weeks. So let's say a new format comes in and that we haven't seen, we could get the model ready in a matter of weeks. And last but not the least, depending on the security protocol and parameters, we could deploy DBShift either on our environment, in which case it'll be a complete offline migration or conversion, if you will. So we will convert the code and put it back into your environment. But if need be, for security reasons, we could truly deploy DBShift within the customer's infrastructure so that nothing goes out of their environment and everything stays in. In either case, security of enterprise assets is never compromised, and that's our guarantee. So let's quickly summarize now, how DBShift truly addresses the 4 key challenges that we raised at the beginning of our presentation. The first one was complexity, right? Now, with AI and with generative AI, as I said, with model intelligence, we truly eliminate errors, right? So eliminating errors, but also the size and the scale of the environment doesn't really matter because it's done through models. So whether it's 500 scripts we are converting or 5,000 scripts we are converting, the time and effort doesn't change significantly. So it's not like linear effort required for a scope. So that's number one. So that's how we eliminate complexity of a legacy code base. Risk, again, doing it automatically using GenAI eliminates human errors, eliminates all kinds of code translation risks, code translation loss, and also data and code loss. So we make sure that every usable and production code does get converted effectively using DBShift. So that truly eliminates those risks. Cuts down cost by 70% because, again, intelligent automation, the effort required is less, the time required is less. And finally, it truly accelerates speed to market, which means fast tracking data-driven business transformation that enterprises are looking for by almost 7x, which means you will be ready to truly leverage the power of data and what Matt highlighted, right? How do you deploy conversational AI and analytics and unleash the power of data using a platform like Databricks, right? So now so hopefully it summarizes for you folks in terms of, all the 4 key challenges are mitigated and addressed with DBShift as a modernization accelerator. So let's take a sneak peek at DBShift in a video.
In today's fast-evolving business landscape, cloud modernization is key to staying competitive. However, the journey to modernization can be challenging. Lengthy timelines, complex transitions, and significant risks. That's where Systech's DBShift comes in. DBShift is a cutting-edge, GenAI-powered modernization accelerator that dramatically shortens project timelines and minimizes risks, turning months-long migrations into just a few weeks. With DBShift, businesses can seamlessly modernize their data infrastructure to Databricks, a robust platform purpose-built for AI-driven transformation. Known for its unified architecture, advanced analytics, seamless integration of business intelligence, strong governance features, and cost efficiency, Databricks stands out as the ideal choice for organizations seeking to leverage the full power of AI. Let's explore the functionality of DBShift through the modernization of one script, illustrating how this transformation unfolds. By selecting the source database and target, and uploading the source script, the powerful GenAI model is triggered. Instantly, a preview of the uploaded script is available. And now, this GenAI engine accelerates the entire migration process. The result? a fully converted script that retains the original business logic while incorporating modernization and best practices, presented side by side with the source for a clear, comparative view. Now, the code is not just ready to move, it's fully modernized and ready for deployment on data platforms like Databricks. With DBShift, Systech enables businesses to seamlessly modernize their infrastructure, unlocking a wide range of powerful capabilities: advanced analytics, GenAI-driven insights, data governance, and security, all at the scale and performance modern enterprises demand. This isn't just migration, it's modernization. Ready for your cloud modernization? Contact Systech to leverage GenAI-powered DBShift for a fast, seamless, and guaranteed migration.
Wonderful. I hope that gave you guys a sneak peek into what DBShift can bring to the table and how it truly accelerates your migration journey. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the metrics that we talked about earlier, right? So how do we get started on this journey? So before that, we did, to measure the efficacy and the acceleration of DBShift, we did an enterprise-grade benchmarking for a given scope of work, as you see on the very top, using 3 different approaches, right? The first one is your traditional approach, do it all manually, code by code, and convert your code. The second was the next evolution of automation, which I again mentioned about a rule-based automation, again, deterministic but not intelligent. And the third, which is our approach of using GenAI, truly using model intelligence to do the modernization and migration. And the results that we see on the right were amazing, right? So it was the results that we are showcasing in terms of speed to market of about 7x, the model accuracy of 100%. Again, as I said, it is trained and a combination of fine tuning and prompt engineering, making the model really, really efficient. And obviously the savings on effort and time were about in the upwards of 60 to 70% for this kind of exercise that we did. Now, there's the one other thing I want to highlight before we move to the next slide is, yes, the model is trained for a set of skills that I mentioned. We can move from any source format to, including PySpark and XML and YAML and SQL and so on. But there could be instances in all transparency that you have done something so unique that we have not seen it in our model training. So even in those cases, when we ran our benchmarking, the automation, the first pass automation, as we call it, was upwards of 90%, right? So you want to see on the bottom right, the first pass automation was 90%. So right out of the box, we could guarantee a 90% automation. Not saying it cannot be 100%, but if there is something unique that you have done, the first pass automation does 90%. But we don't stop there. The 10% that falls off in our exception buckets, which we catch, we then run it through a second pass with very quick tweaking of our model, and that takes it all the way up to 99, almost 100%. So even if we encounter scenarios that we have absolutely not seen or something unique that you have done, in a very, very short time, we are able to get to 100% automation with DBShift. And I just want to highlight that the numbers that we are showing is something that we have truly tested in the field. Now, again, we don't want you to believe these numbers just because we are saying it, right? We are ready to test it in your environment, right? Let's do this in your own environment. And as a result, we are offering a free point of proof of value for the first 5 signups. So what we basically need is, for the POV, is get a representative sample of your production code, and we will demonstrate the speed and accuracy that we are claiming with DBShift. So again, as I said, we truly believe in our numbers. We have seen these numbers in the field, and we want you guys to see it and experience it in your own environment as well, which is why we have this free POV offer for the first 5 signups. So, in closing, our goal with a POV is to really clearly demonstrate that DBShift is a risk-averse, fast, and reliable way to modernize your data platform. And we want you guys to experience it firsthand. So do sign up for this, do take us up on that offer. And we look forward to talking to you guys and learning about your needs and your requirements of how Systech and Data can truly help you with your modernization journey and get you ready for the next phase of innovation. How do you bring in analytics? How you bring in AI and truly unleash the power of data with a platform like Databricks. With that, I would like to thank you for joining the webinar, and let's open it up for any questions.
Oh, fantastic. That was a very compelling, story, and the numbers for Databricks and for DBShift migrating to Databricks with DBShift. So thank you all for sticking with us. I hope the session has been helpful. We are getting the questions coming in. So let's sort of dive into it. So here we have the first question that asks, can you also provide a demo for transforming an ETL pipeline through DBShift? Yusuf, do you want to take that?
Yeah, absolutely. An answer is always yes. Yeah, just let us know time and place and we can do that.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And this is another question we have from Satyam Chaurasia. He goes, can we also modify the way and steps to be followed while migrating from one tool to another through natural language?
It's a great question. At this point, the interface is not through natural language, but as I said, it's a modernization accelerator, right? So in terms of we look at the product or a tool that we are migrating from how it's under the covers, right? So what are the source formats or the code formats that are in, and we try to convert that code as is to its counterpart, right? So we don't have that sort of need for an interactivity at this point, but we would love to learn more about what Satyam means in terms of what his true requirement is. Would love to take a call with him offline and understand a little bit more. But at this very point, number one, we don't see a need of that interaction through natural language, but would love to understand more.
Fantastic. Hope that sort of clarifies for you, Satyam. And the next we have, it's a popular question, and we have received this a few times. What are the outcomes businesses can expect after implementing DBShift for their modernization efforts? Matt, do you want to pick it up? Yeah.
Absolutely. And as we discussed, the whole lakehouse paradigm, and that is having your data in one location available to whatever group needs access to that data in whatever format there is, whether it's data scientists or end users or BI analysts, having it in that one location in a performant, scalable platform is the key. Once you have that, once it's migrated into this platform, it's a what else can I do with this data kind of question. Yusuf, anything else you want to add to that?
No, absolutely. I mean, I think we touched upon it in both our presentations, right? It's a vehicle to true business transformation. Let me put it that way, right? Because if you want to deploy any kind of AI or conversational AI-based interaction or interactivity with data, you truly need the power of a modern platform underneath to, one, manage all kinds of data and manage it at a performance and a scale that you expect. Because you can't be like, I have the capability, but it takes an hour to respond. So there are these aspects. These are essential capabilities that one needs to have then to embark on that true transformational journey where you could interact with your data using conversational AI and not just interact. We are getting into a realm of what we call as a multi-agent systems. People have heard about this, where it's a closed loop environment. You interact and the problem to the degree that the entire problem gets solved. So it's an action-led or action-based insight. It's not just knowing and just feeling good about it, but putting back into action and truly seeing some business outcomes.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you for that question. The next question that we have is, what deployment options does DBShift offer to ensure it meets enterprise security protocols? Yusuf, I think.
Yeah,
we have
I think this question comes up quite a bit because security is one of the primary concerns of any enterprise in today's day, right? So as I mentioned in my presentation as well, we could do it either ways, right? One, let's say, obviously, we could deploy DBShift in your environment and make sure that we do all the code conversion validation so your code doesn't go anywhere. And I want to highlight one aspect of it, that when we do conversion using AI model, we are not storing any of your data, not even your code, right? Nothing is stored in our model. So that's something we can demonstrate and make sure that you understand that aspect of it. On the other side, if we end up hosting this on our environment and make it truly offline, in which case we do require the code to be offloaded onto our tenant, and then we do the conversion validation and give back the code. So, but even in that case, right, we could do it through very securely. And again, nothing gets stored in our environment at all. So from both standpoint, we make sure that there is no compromise on security. So both the options are available depending on what the enterprises are comfortable with. We could go either ways.
All right. Thanks for double clicking on that, Yusuf. Moving on to the next question, sort of switching gears. So, the question goes, is it possible to do any data alteration or makeup during the activity, or is it lift and shift?
Again, great question. I think modernization requires a combination of both, right? You don't want to lift and shift everything which is out there. I think Matt alluded to it when he talked about, profiling. So making sure that you look at your landscape, your current landscape, your legacy landscape, understand what is of importance, what needs to be moved in the first place. So you truly understand the current landscape and then define your strategy. When it comes to DBShift, there are two ways data, when I say data is altered, I would look at it from a standpoint of how is the code optimized to make sure that it leverages all the capability of Databricks, right? So in that regard, yes, we do deploy best practices. So a legacy code written in a fashion which is not optimized, we would deploy a best practice on Databricks side so that the converted code does perform with its all capabilities that Databricks extends. But in terms of, let's say, if you want to truly change your entire business process and your workflow are completely changed, then it's a different aspect to modernization, right? Because end of the day, you're truly changing your legacy code itself. So in which case, there will be a element of re-architecting, as we call it. So it will be a combination of modernization through DBShift and re-architecting in a way that completely your business processes change, which generally doesn't happen because it's hard to change your entire business process and all the workflows. So from that standpoint, I would say it can accommodate some of these best practices. But as I said, if it is complete re-architecting, then we have to look at it in a more, from a strategic standpoint to figure out what is changing and then come up with a alternate design.
Moving on to the next one. What are the key risks involved in cloud migration, and how does DBShift mitigate them?
I think we talked about, again, a lot of challenges we highlighted. I think if I have to point to one aspect of it, is it's just the scale and complexity, right? I mean, that is very daunting for most enterprises. And the reason it's daunting is that because of its legacy and it's built over time, right? Sometimes, number of years have been put in behind that legacy platform. Even the knowledge base is not there in terms of what the code does and what doesn't do. Nobody's there. People who built the code are far gone, are long gone, right? So that kind of scares people a lot, So with the combination of what Matt talked about, Profiler and DBShift with model intelligence, we could truly mitigate that risk. We could scan the environment, understand how it looks like and what can and should be moved, and then move it in an efficient way using DBShift. So I think just that scale and complexity, and that obviously translates to time and effort, and all the other factors are all tied back to that scale and complexity of the legacy code base.
All right.
Can I add just one?
Go ahead, Matt.
thing? It's not
Sure.
necessarily a risk, but something to consider that when you move to another platform, that your user community will have to go through some additional enablement. It'll be a new platform for them as well. So don't forget an enablement plan for those folks as well.
That's true. That's a great point. I mean, I think buy-in from your user community will determine the success of your platform. Absolutely. Maybe one more question, Vaish?
Yes, it is. We do have a stream of questions. We have 4 minutes to close the session out. Just take a couple of them more. All right. So we have the next question. Do we have any validation technique while using DBShift accelerator to make sure that the code is being converted rightly?
Correct. I think I touched upon it briefly as well, and we can, if we need technical discussion, we can do it offline as well. But to answer the question, as part of the model training, we have ways in which we use AI models to even validate the integrity of the code. The syntactical validation is also performed. Now, I do want to highlight one aspect of it in full transparency, right? The biggest chunk of work in any migration project is conversion, like converting the code right and making it ready for deployment. And which is where our focus has been with DBShift has been on converting the code base and making it available for any kind of further testing that enterprise would like to do, right? Because when it comes to true user acceptance or deep system integration testing, every enterprise have their own set of processes and protocols. Some may want to do it like 3 levels of testing. Some may want to do 5 cycles of testing. In some cases, enterprises like to do their own testing. They don't want a third party to come in and do testing. So essentially what we do is we provide the code with that kind of structural and syntactical validation. And then since the code is what we're converting, we are not deploying the code in a live environment to be run. That's where the testing would be a second phase following it, which I call it a true functional testing, right? And as an organization, we can certainly do that whole aspect of functional testing, and we can bring about automation as part of that testing process as well, right? But when it comes to this GenAI powered model, our primary focus is to take the biggest and most complex part of your modernization journey, which is code conversion.
Thank you for that, Yusuf. We just have a minute to go, so I'll just take one more question, and with that will be the last one, and we'll wrap up. After that, the question goes: does it take care of the optimization best practices as part of the code conversion by DBShift?
Yes, it does. Yeah, absolutely. I think we have, in this case, we have worked with the Databricks team in terms of their set of architects to truly understand what are those key best practices. Even in writing a new code, right? You want to make sure that the code is written with the best practices in mind. So we have truly incorporated that within the model, as part of context engineering, as part of a training exercise, so that when the code that is generated on the other side kind of conforms to the standards that Databricks has laid out as best practices, as best architecture setup, and so on. So the answer is yes, and we continuously do that. It's not a one-time effort, right? As things change, we continuously make sure that we deploy those best practices as we do the code conversion.
Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful questions. And I know some of them are still there, but that's all time we have for the questions today. And I think we'll wrap up here. But we will get back to you with, the answers for some of the other questions that you've raised here. And also feel free to follow up with any further questions after the session. Right. We've had great ones today, and thank you everyone who participated. I also want to extend a huge thanks to Yusuf and Matt for sharing their insights today. And of course, a big thank you to Databricks for co-presenting this webinar with us. All right. As a reminder, we'll be sharing a recording of today's session along with the Q&A report and poll results. So be on the lookout for that. Before you sign off, please take a moment to fill out the survey that will appear on your screen after the session. Thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you soon at the next event.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.